Good morning, everyone. Today is July 22nd, 2021. Welcome to the New Possibilities Hour. Our special guest today is Winter Wheeler, and we're thrilled to have her here. We're thrilled to have all of you here, and it promises to be a fascinating hour. But first, we have our number, the magic number for how much Natalie has been advised of for donations to food banks around the world. As most of you know, certainly those of you who attend regularly, there is no charge asked for these programs. Will Work for Food was started last spring, hard to believe it's been over a year now, during the pandemic in response to the great need for food and food insecurity. And these weekly presentations every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific bring fascinating speakers donating their time and talent to us all. And then the participants and the speakers and all donating funds and others to various food banks around the world. So the number as of right now is $147,427, of which Natalie has been advised. And I always say that because there's a little asterisk on that. I'm sure lots of people have donated to food banks that have not told Natalie the amount of their donations. So this is fantastic. Hopefully we'll hit 150,000 this week with your presentation, Winter. Sorry, was that name on the bottom got me there. Yeah, and anyway, so looking forward to that. With no further ado, let me introduce today's speaker to you. Winter Wheeler. She is a mediator and arbitrator from Atlanta. If you take a look at her LinkedIn page, you will see she's got a wonderful list of things that she is, as opposed to just being a great person. Mediator, arbitrator, 2 times TEDx speaker. She's an attorney licensed in Georgia, Florida, New York. She's a best-selling author. She and a number of people I think that are probably on this Zoom today authored a book, Networked, during this pandemic. And she's the creator of the Mediate Now podcast. She is a former civil litigator, a top litigator who moved into the mediation world, the dispute resolution world, several years ago now, I guess. And she's just a wonderful person. I could use a lot of words to describe her. I wrote a few down after a great call we had yesterday. Accomplished, inspirational, dynamic, delightful, and fun. I could relate. We're both the mother of 4 children, and she has 4 young ones at home, which probably is what first caught my eye on LinkedIn with her. And anyway, she is here to tell us today about the Four Cornerstones of Mediation. Her food bank is the Atlanta Community Food Bank. So why don't you take it from there, Winter?
Oh my gosh, you are so kind. Thank you, first and foremost, for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here. The first time I heard about this program, I was just so impressed that a group of people would come together and have this in mind, especially at the time that it came together. So many people were in need. So many people had different types of needs at the time. And so to have this available, it's just such an honor to be here and to be able to participate. I know that in my city, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a lot of people who are in need. Our goodness, our statistics typically match those of the rest of the United States, but here in Georgia, 1 in 8 people are food insecure, which is really heartbreaking. And of that, we have 1 in 6 children who are food insecure. The Atlanta Community Food Bank serves 29 counties. surrounding Atlanta. And what I really love about this food bank in particular, I learned about it when I moved here, goodness, 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago at this point. They really focus on community outreach and community awareness. They spend a lot of energy educating our community on food insecurity and how your everyday person who could definitely have a job. We're not talking about people who are homeless and living in the streets. These are people who have jobs, have homes, look like you and I, but need help with food. And they spend a lot of time making sure we all understand that. They make a lot of effort to promote their services and to ensure that we understand what they do. So, for example, they supply food for food pantries. They put on competitions. One of the competitions I participate in every year is called Legal Food Frenzy. And so all of the law firms in town, we every year around Christmas time, we see who can provide the greatest number of pounds of food, and the winner gets, I mean, bragging rights for the year, and we all take it very, very seriously. So this food bank is very important to me personally. It's very important to our city and the surrounding region. So thank you so much for letting me participate here, and for anyone who donates to this food bank, I'm very, very grateful. So, with that said, we are here to talk about the four cornerstones of mediation, and I know you are all dying to hear what those four cornerstones are, right? So I opted today to not put on my typical PowerPoint presentation. I'm so excited that I was like, wow, there's going to be a lot of people here. We're going to have a lot of mediators, arbitrators, and attorneys. I would love to just talk to them, get their genuine feedback. I want to talk to them. I don't want to talk at them. I don't want to just put on a presentation and have them kind of fall asleep on me. I mean, you may fall asleep anyway. I don't know. I get really excited about this. Maybe no one else does, but I'm hoping that you'll want to chime in as we go through. So, without further ado, what are the four cornerstones of mediation? All right. So this is a mediation methodology that I've trademarked, that I came up with over the course of my practice as a mediator. I'm a full-time mediator, former civil litigator. I like to say that I've retired. My husband hates that I say that I've retired. He's always like, honey, don't say that you've retired. You can always go back and do it. Hey, Elliot, I see you there. Nice to see you, Elliot Erland. But yes, I have retired. I think I'd go kicking and screaming back into a law firm at this point. But yes, so the four cornerstones of mediation are emotional intelligence, cultural knowledge, cultural immersion, and genuine empathy. And I came up with these four key elements through my practice, noticing that these were the four things that always came up for me. So like I said, and as you know, I live in the city of Atlanta. Atlanta is truly a multicultural city. We have people from every part of the globe. Atlanta for a very long time has been a beacon of light in the United States, and for, like I said, people across the globe. It's known as the city too busy to hate. Now, whether that's true or not, I mean, I don't know. I'll venture to say that that's not actually accurate, but that's what it's known as. And so we welcome people from across the world, and we like to believe that, you know, everyone here is treated equally. We like to believe that. And for me, when you step into a room with me, that is in fact true. I treat everyone equally. And for a mediator, that does need to be the truth. If you attend a mediation and you do not feel that that is the truth, if your mediator is not treating you equally, if your mediator does not understand your cultural background, the cultural background of your client, you have been failed. You have absolutely been failed. You should not use that mediator again. These steps will not only help you as an attorney, help you as a mediator, they can also help you in your everyday life. And so I believe that these steps are crucial no matter what we are doing and no matter where we go. So let's back up. Emotional intelligence. I think we all kind of think we know what emotional intelligence is, right? It's kind of become a buzz phrase. But emotional intelligence has to do with how we understand ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we understand our own emotions, and how we interact with those around us based on how we understand how we fit with those around us. How do our emotions guide the decisions that we make? Do we have any questions about that? Am I being clear? Sometimes this stuff sounds kind of ethereal, hooey. Any questions though before I get too far in? No? Okay. All right. Now, y'all, I did ask. Now, listen, I am going to say y'all, I am Southern. But I would love for you to ask some questions. But anyway, so like I said, it primarily concerns whether we are fully aware of our own feelings and whether we allow that awareness to control basically the way in which we lead our lives. And it concerns whether or not we regulate and control our own emotions. And it becomes very, very important because most people don't understand how they feel. And even if they do, they're very unlikely to tell you how they feel. Often because they just don't want to, right? So if you are a mediator or an attorney or, I don't know, a parent, for example, you need to be able to figure out how people are feeling in the absence of them using their words to do so, because they often will not do that. But you can evaluate your own emotional intelligence by asking yourself a series of questions. And I really want you to stop what you're doing and think about these. Can you identify your own feelings? Can you? I would say that I can. You know, it takes me some time, and listen, I see a therapist every week, and that really helps. She works me through a lot of that. The next question: do your feelings help guide your decisions? That's a big one. If you can identify your feelings and you let your feelings guide your decisions, that's a big deal. Because a lot of people can't do that. And as you go through your day, I want you to focus on those two things. And you'll notice very clearly a lot of people are missing those two things. And you'll say, it would probably a heck of a lot easier if they actually knew what they were feeling and if they were making their decisions based on that. And then next, do you understand how your emotions fit with the people and the happenings around you? So really, it's like, I'll give you an example. So if I'm upset, I know I'm upset. Do I know why? Yes, I know why. I'm upset with my husband. I'm upset because he did X. And now, do I understand how that is making my husband feel? Do I understand how that's making my children feel? Right? I'm having a reaction, but do I understand how my reaction is making other people feel? How is that causing them to react? Because I need to regulate myself. Because I need to be concerned about what is happening to the other people that I care about, right? Because how often are we having reactions for ourselves without regard to what's happening to everyone around us? Happens a lot. Then the next question, can you use the information to then relate and properly interact with everyone around you? That's the really hard one. So this is clearly a lot to think about all at once, right? And that's happening all at once during every reaction we have. So like not just with yourself, not just with your family, but everyone you interact with. And so for a lot of people, that actually happens without any thought and it happens smoothly. But for many of us, like me, it requires a lot of thinking. Now I'm seeing there's activity in the chat. How does emotional intelligence square with emotional baggage? Therapy. Like I said, I see a therapist. In other words, do you feel they are the same thing? No, your emotional baggage, you need to become aware of your emotional baggage. That's part of the emotional intelligence. If you know you have the baggage, that's huge, right? That's like step one. But then you have to deal with the baggage. Now, I'm not saying you have to go sit and call your mom and like hash it out. You just have to be aware that it's there and understand that your reactions are a lot of the time based on the baggage that you have. Listen, I've got baggage that nobody wants to hear about. Okay, nobody wants all that. But I'm aware that it's there. And that's part of my emotional intelligence. I know that these things in my life are affecting how I see the world and how I see other people. And I have to stop myself, bring it all back, and not allow it to color or cloud how I deal with other people, because that's not fair to them. And especially when I'm in my position as a mediator, I'm a neutral. I have to take all of that out. And I need to be able to reach people where they are. And what's really fabulous about this, once I came to this conclusion and I realized all four of these pieces work together, is that I see it, I can do it, and I can do it not only for myself, I'm doing it for other people who aren't doing it for themselves. Does that make sense? Do y'all understand what I'm saying there? I'm able to project that for someone else who's not doing it for themselves. And I can help them in that little window that I have with them, the 4, 8, 12 hours I spend with them. I can get them where they need to be. They don't even have a clue I'm doing it. And I can kind of pull them out of whatever nonsense they're dealing with for that little period of time. Now, I mean, I'm not like an official reporter or a mandatory reporter. I'm not telling anybody they need to go to therapy. But for that little period of time, I'm like, okay, well, that's not what we're talking about here today. Let's focus on this. Let's focus on this. And I kind of pull them out. Let's see. This is a good point. I've often wondered why people's feelings have always been my concern. Your feelings are other people's feelings are your concern, likely because you are an empath like me. I feel everybody's feelings. I'm always concerned with how other people feel. I literally can't help it. It's a blessing and a curse all at the same time. And that falls under cornerstone number 4, genuine empathy. We're not there yet, but let's go ahead and move ahead. I did say this was going to be casual, so let's do that. All right. Maria, do you want to jump in and say something? I can't see you. Where are you, Maria? All right, she doesn't want to say anything. That's fine. But yes, genuine empathy. You don't have to be an empath to have genuine empathy. Of course not. But empathy is really just about really having concern for other people. And I think a lot of people who go into the law, and definitely people who go into the field of mediation, genuinely care about what happens to people, genuinely want to help people resolve their problems. So for a lot of us, we already have that. But I teach this this method to your average everyday person on the street as well. It's also a communication strategy. And so not everyone has genuine empathy. There is some controversy over whether empathy can be taught and whether empathy can be learned. I am of the opinion that empathy cannot be taught or learned, but a lot of people think that it can. So we could sit and talk about that all day, and we don't have all day. But I mean, does anyone have any opinions on that before we kind of move on to the next comment here? Just chime in, because I really can't like see all the little boxes very well.
Is it possible, Winter, this is Elliot, is it possible for people to have the potential for empathy and it just hasn't been developed or encouraged? Maybe it's even been because of their environment tamped down. So it's not so much that they're being taught or that they're learning, but rather that their potential for empathy grows. Am I making a difference?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I have no idea. That's cool. I'm like I don't know. I am kind of the opinion that empathy is something that you are born with, and it's kind of like it's an innate thing, and if it's there no matter where you are. But what I'm hearing you say is that it could be suppressed, perhaps.
Yeah, it can be there. It can be there, but it just can't be expressed.
Like perhaps someone is in a position where they are forced to focus solely on themselves. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is still genuine empathy.
Thanks.
I don't know. Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate you for speaking up.
Winter?
Yes.
I think empathy is something that should be taught in the young grades. I think it should be, that's when their minds are developing. Empathy or lack of empathy, I believe, is something that's passed down from their parents or their neighbors. And I find that may be an easier place to teach it than once someone has it ingrained in their brain on how they're going, whether they're going to be empathetic or not. So I think it's something that a much larger teaching platform. I can't think of the right word, but I think that should be a necessary subject in the lower grades, so children learn at from their schools the proper way to act, and their parents become more involved in the way they should act and behave. And I'll let someone else talk for now if they want to.
I like that. Yeah. I hope you're right and that I'm wrong on that. On that, I hope it can be taught. I know my kids.
Can I give a view from over
Yes,
the pond
please.
in the UK?
Hi, Andrew. I
I've
recognize
come
you.
around to the view, having been mediating for several years now, that mediators don't have to be, and it can be very dangerous to say you're empathetic. And perhaps there's one main reason for that. I think there's a confusion between empathy and sympathy. And the definition of empathy, and I just looked it up again, is the ability to understand, and it's a twofold thing. The second part is to share the feelings of another. And it's a lot easier to understand the feelings, and I think that's sympathy. But there's many scenarios in life that, for example, I have never been through, whether it's a commercial one, a bankruptcy litigation of a business. And so it's very difficult for me to say, I share the feelings you're going through, because I've never gone through. If you imagine a serious one, and I've done some abuse cases, if I dared to say to a man or a woman, I understand what you're going through, I understand the feelings you have, that would be a lie, because I haven't been through them. And so I think it's really, it's they're all words, but for me, the most important thing is sympathy, not empathy, because it's very difficult to be empathetic with someone else. And the thing that you really stressed before is how important feelings are. And it's difficult enough to understand your own feelings. I think it's doubly difficult to understand the feelings of another.
Oh, absolutely.
Lovely to see you, Winter.
Lovely to see you too. Yes. And so, as I said before, I am an empath. I know a lot of people don't believe in empaths. I am an empath. And I do feel people's feelings. How that works, I'm not quite sure, but I am an empath. For me, sympathy is more dangerous to me. In my role as a mediator, I find that to be a hard one. I don't want to be sympathetic because I find that I would be more sympathetic to one side than the other because I am a human being, right? And I don't want that. In my position as an empath, I can understand how everyone is feeling. I kind of feel that. And I know I'm using the term understand, but I use the term understand because I can't really explain that that internal feeling the way that you're explaining it. And that's not necessarily how I explain it when I talk to people who are not empathic. So let me kind of explain that a little bit more, the way that I talk about it. So I say, like I said, empathy is that genuine concern for others. And I use the word concern, and I use the descriptor genuine because of the difference between genuine and feigned, right? Genuine and fake. And when I was a practicing litigator, I spent most of my career as a defense attorney, a civil defense attorney. And I was warned about being too empathetic, sympathetic, either one, and how that could affect how I worked my cases. And I was aware at the time that I was an empath, and I was very clear, and I paid close attention to not allow that empathy to sway me in any direction, because at that time I was an advocate. I had a job to do. But now for me, that empathy that I have, I allow myself to indulge in, because in that context, it gives me a deeper understanding of where everyone is coming from. And I have just a deeper feeling of what's going on, how they feel, why they feel that way. And for me, sympathy has more to do with having an opinion. It has to do with having an opinion. So Andrew, maybe you and I are just going to disagree on that. I don't know.
Well, Winter, this is Jean here. There are a couple of good comments about this in the chat, and one says,
Okay.
are the labels definitions less important than the ability to connect with the parties on a fundamental emotional level so you can work through the issues generated there, you know, with them? And I think that's really probably what you're trying to get to, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put
Absolutely.
labels aside, then then
Absolutely.
heading to the core, right?
Absolutely.
Winter,
And then, yes.
this is Dennis. My apologies to the group. I'm normally on camera. I literally just got off a red eye. I wish I'd stayed in LA last night instead of coming back to the East Coast to tune this in at 8 o'clock East Coast time. I did want to question if feeling, or I'll use the term empathy, how do you balance the empathy and feelings with maintaining the impartiality and the neutrality that is necessary for the mediator to sustain that safe environment for the parties to talk and share their feelings?
Because I'm doing it for everyone. I do it for everyone. And what I have noticed is, you know, because I was an advocate for so long, for about 14 years, and primarily I was a defense attorney, my clients were often overlooked. Now, granted, I had, you know, small business owners. Sometimes I just had my adjuster. They were often overlooked. But they were emotionally involved a lot of the time. They did have connections to the case. And they were often upset that their feelings were not being taken into account. The mediator would spend less time with them, wouldn't ask them some of the important questions that were certainly being asked of the plaintiff, for example. Now, are we there because of the plaintiff? Yes, we are. The plaintiff has filed the lawsuit, but we do need to be aware and cognizant of how everyone is feeling. So if you can spend the time to figure out how everyone is feeling, you're doing everyone involved a service. And if you ignore anybody's feelings, you are doing a disservice. And how do I stay neutral? The short answer is it's my job. I am required to do that. I'm not emotionally involved with any of these people. When I say that I understand their feelings, I understand their emotions, I'm trying to learn about them and how they're feeling, I do that so that I know how to communicate with them. I'm not doing that so that I have some kind of attachment to that person or to their position. It is so I know what to say to them. I know what is going to move them. I know what's going to move the needle for them. It has nothing to do with how I feel. It's not my case. My job is to figure out what is going to resolve the matter. At the end of the day, it's usually a number that's going to bring everybody together, right? But sometimes I might need to get someone to make an apology. But I'm not going to know that if I've ignored everybody's feelings. I'm not going to know that. For example, I had a case where I went to talk to the defendant first. He arrived first, got there very early. And I got a clue because he arrived so early. He was about 30 minutes early, which very rarely happens for a defendant. But he was very tense. He had two support people with him. So clue number 1, 2, and 3, right? And so he's talking to me about what's going on, and he's got his ledger, and he's just giving me all these numbers. And so I know this is not about money, because we're talking about millions of dollars that he's got in this ledger, but he's complaining that someone has stolen maybe $100,000 from him. He's not that upset about $100,000, right? But he's not telling me anything about why he's upset. So finally, at the actual start time of the mediation, I go and I talk to the plaintiff. He's in tears. He's there with his wife. And he says, I can't believe I did this. I stole this money. This man was so important to my family. I can't believe I've done this to him and his business. Well, ding, ding, ding. There's a lot going on here that this man never would have told me. I go back. I talk to the defendant. Talk to the defendant again, right? No, I'm switching these words. Yes. I went back, talked to the plaintiff. The plaintiff showed up early, and he was the one with the ledger. And I said to him, I talked to the defendant. He has told me that he admits to all of these things, and he's very apologetic. So what's really going on here? And he says, his family has worked for me for decades, for generations, in fact. I have employed him, his wife, his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, his mother, his father. And not only did he steal from me, his father stole from me, and I kept them from going to jail at that point. And they have done it again, and I am done. I cannot believe they have used me in this manner. I need an apology, and I want my money back. Now I knew where to go. So had I not delved farther into how that man felt, I wouldn't have known that. But that day, I think we spent 14, 16 hours together working through emotional issues. We were not going to get anywhere just talking about numbers. First of all, the defendant didn't have any money. He had no money. So we had to come up with a settlement that was structured upon what this man could do to make amends, to satisfy the emotional damage he and his family had done to the plaintiff. So when I say I need to talk about and understand how they feel and understand their emotions and connect emotionally and really, really understand them, I don't mean I need to get in there and potentially pick a side. No, I need to know what the problems are. Because if I don't know what the problems are, I can't help. Because we are often not, I would say most of the time, we are not just talking about money. I hope that answered the question.
Well, it sounds very much like the restorative justice principles of identifying first what took place. And there's two realities given the parties in this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, identifying who was affected or harmed by that action, and then exploring, and it's usually one-sided in restorative justice where the victim is discussing that. But it sounds like in the mediation and your genuine empathy, you're looking at what is necessary to repair the harm from both sides in order to preserve and maintain that safe environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially if we're talking about a relationship that needs to continue into the future. Right? So I do family law as well. So when these relationships need to continue, we really need to understand what's going on. If I don't delve into how everyone is feeling, if they don't tell me what those negative emotions are, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? We can sit and we can talk about, he stole my Transformers cup from when I was 5. I mean, what? Like, it sounds ridiculous on the surface. Why is that cup important? Why do we care about the cup? Because you don't want the dollar value of the cup. Okay, so let's talk about why the cup is important. If I can't get down and understand why that cup means something to you because your daddy gave it to you and it was the only thing your daddy ever gave to you, and then he ran off with Susie from around the corner and you never saw him again. I mean, how am I supposed to help? Right? That's why that matters. And if you're not asking those questions in a way that indicates that you really want to know the answer, they're not going to tell you. They can sense the bullshit from a mile away. You know it's true. You know it's true. Because we only have a small amount of time with these folks, right? And when I say small amount of time, we could be talking about days on end, but you're talking about somebody's lifespan, all right? Somebody comes in, they're 60 years old, and I'm going to spend a week with them. That's not a lot of time. You need to go in and be ready for whatever they're going to throw at you. So we haven't talked yet about the cultural knowledge and the cultural immersion. And Lord, we are running out of time already. But quickly, cultural knowledge. Like I said, I live in an international city. I am originally from Miami. I have lived abroad. I have to be ready for whatever walks in the door for me. They could be from anywhere. And I need to have the cultural knowledge, the book learning, the background to understand what they might be presenting. Because again, like I said before, I'm doing this work for everyone who walks in. They're not doing it themselves for the most part, right? So I'm doing it for them and for everybody who comes in. So I need to know about their background without them telling me. And then, so I need to know, like, what kind of cultural clues are they giving me? So we talk about that. Oh, yes, where are you from? And, if you're the mediator, for example, you can get a lot of this information out of the attorney before they show up, which would give you the time to do some research and all of that. So some of that you don't have to worry about in advance, like too far in advance. But I also advocate for cultural immersion. If you have the ability, like, where you live. I live in Atlanta. We have a lot of people from South America, for example. I'll pick any country. I said South America, but I'm going to pick Central America, El Salvador. So I spend a lot of time with people from El Salvador. I learn about people from El Salvador. I speak Spanish, but I learned Spanish in Miami, which is a mishmash of various dialects, Cuban. I lived in Spain, just, a lot of things. But if I know that I have someone who's coming from El Salvador, I'll brush up real quickly on their slang, right? I'm ready for them when they come in. Little things like that. How they prefer their conjugation when you're speaking to them as a group it will help you immensely. You're going to get their trust more quickly if you speak to them the way they want to be spoken to. These are the things that are going to endear you more quickly, garner that trust more quickly, also helping you with that last piece that we've already talked a lot about, which is the empathy. And all of that is going to get you to speak to them in a way they want to be spoken to, help you formulate phrases and arguments in a way that they can hear and receive, helping you get that case resolved, which of course is best for you because you want your resolution numbers up, you want your percentages up, right? But no, you want to help these people get their problems solved and done and over with. And who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to help people get their problems resolved in a way that makes sense for them? And for attorneys, you want a mediator who can do this for your clients, because if they feel that they have really been heard culturally, emotionally, you're going to have far fewer instances of buyer's remorse, the day after, right? I've been on the receiving end of that. I've had clients call me the next day and be like, I don't know if we should have settled that one at mediation. And I'm like, listen, lady, while we were there and I explained it to you, you signed that agreement. We are done. I would get that all the time as a defense attorney. Like, I don't know. I'm like, listen, we're done here. But as a mediator, if you can make that easier for the attorney by having these cornerstones in your pocket, you're going to make it easier on your attorneys, on your clients, which of course is going to get you repeat business. Any thoughts, any questions? I mean, there's so much happening in the chat that I've not been watching. I feel like I've just been like talking to y'all, like at y'all, really.
We're loving it. It's fantastic. Do you want to take questions live? Thank you.
Yes, please. Questions? Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have a question? You want to just, raise your hand or just speak up, actually, unmute yourself and speak up.
Just for my notes, we spent a lot of time on the fourth cornerstone. Can you just remind me what are the four cornerstones?
Okay. Emotional intelligence, cultural knowledge, cultural immersion, and genuine empathy. I'll put some links in the chat. My first TEDx actually discusses the four cornerstones in depth. Let's see here. Where are those links?
And while you're doing that, I would just go back to, Winter has this podcast that she does, the Mediate Now podcast, which is fascinating. I've listened to a few of them and a lot of this there. And then if you Google her, you will find the YouTube presentations and things that discuss all of this in greater detail too.
Thank you. Yes, I try to keep busy.
I don't know how you do it. I think you have more than 24 hours a day in your day. And I love the hashtag you use, here comes winter, right? So
winter is coming.
Winter is coming. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have the podcast called The Mediate Now. My philosophy on life in general is that mediation is everywhere. It is part of everything that we do. It's involved in our daily lives. And so the podcast is about bringing mediation to everyone. I interview experts in various fields, and we talk about how their work intersects with mediation. And so I think I touched on it a little bit, but that, the four cornerstones can be used not only in mediation, but in any conversation and interaction that you have. And in my TEDx talk, I talk about how I use the four cornerstones on my children. I also use them on my husband, which he finds to be a little bit, I don't know what word he would use. He doesn't like for me to talk about how I use them on him.
Well, hi, Winter. I have a question here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
My name is Kweku Adu. I'm from Canada with Brownlee LLP. You mentioned that as a mediator, sometimes, you're thinking about your numbers also sort of going up percentage-wise, success rate, I guess. And I have never mediated, so I don't know. But I understand there are a bunch of mediators here. And I want to know, is that a thing? Is that something in the background? I mean, how should it, does it affect a mediator's motivation to let the matter settle that day? And should that be proper? Or, I mean, should that be a thing anyway?
Oh, no, I was joking. Okay. I was joking. I was making a joke.
Okay.
Mediators, we're problem solvers, so we certainly want to see the lawsuit settle because that's what we want to see that. But and I could talk about this all day. Mediation can be used for lots of things that have nothing to do with settlement. For example, we can do fact finding, early discovery, many different things. So no, I was absolutely making a joke.
Okay.
I should have made that clearer.
Okay.
I don't care if you settle or not. I care if the check clears at the end of the day. That was also a joke, but not really.
Right.
This has been so fascinating. Does anybody else have any other questions that they would like to ask? Winter, well, you've got the chance. This is like our own little clubhouse format here, I guess. First time,
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I just put my my LinkedIn link in there. I would love it if we're not already connected, please connect with me. I'm starting an intensive course in the Four Cornerstones of Mediation. That's going to be upcoming, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, keep up with me and all my happenings. Listen to the podcast and reach out. I'd love to talk more with y'all about this. I just like talking about mediation, so anytime somebody wants to chat about it, let's do it.
we do have a question here, a raised hand anyway.
Okay.
Asana Singh?
Yeah, hi. Hi, I'm extremely sorry. I could switch on my camera. I'm driving right now. I am talking from India. My name is Upasna Singh. And me and Winter had a conversation around a month back. I don't know whether Winter remembers this or not, regarding a workshop. So
I do.
I have a question. Great, thank you for that. And I loved the session, and it was very informative and very encouraging. I just wanted to ask one thing. I am planning to research in the area of restorative justice, particularly in victim offender mediation programs. And is the concept of victim offender mediation program obsolete now, or is it still in vogue in US? And if we talk about victim offender mediation program in terms of serious offenses, is it a possibility to go in that direction or not?
Oh my. I would love to see more of that. It does happen here in the US. It's typically with less serious offenses. Honestly, do I foresee it happening with more serious offenses? Not anytime soon. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about my fellow Americans here on an international stage, but no, I can't imagine that happening anytime soon. Anyone else have anything to say about that? Any Americans want to chime in on that one?
Well, I'm a Canadian, and so I can't speak to the American landscape, but what I can say is here in Canada, especially in my province, Saskatchewan, we really embrace the concept of healing circles, specifically
Yes.
with our Indigenous community, but it's also not restricted to just that. And though that's not technically mediation, it's still that same atmosphere and the intentions towards the reconciliation and the understanding and the healing, as opposed to the punitive focus.
Yeah, and I love the concept, and I've had several conversations with some Canadian friends about that and how it works. I think is really, really interesting. But yeah, I just don't see that happening in the US.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? You raise your hand and I guess you pop up to the front here. Winter, did you have maybe some closing comments? I will let you know that we're already over $150,000 now, and thank you so much to everyone who's contributing to either the Atlanta Food Bank or to another food bank of your choosing. That's just fantastic. And there are great comments here in the chat as well. So, Winter,
oh my gosh.
Thank
you so much. This is so exciting. I am so glad that I got to come today. I'm really, really grateful. Wow. Oh, I'm almost speechless, which like never happens. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Again, anytime I get to talk about mediation is a really, really good day. I can't believe so many people came out to hear this. This is fantastic. And to see so many familiar faces too. I really appreciate that. This is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. Not only mediation, but the Four Cornerstones obviously are very important to me and something that I am trying to get out to more and more people. So thank you. Please spread that message. Please continue to donate. If you haven't donated yet, please do. Food insecurity around the world is it's just heartbreaking. It is unnecessary. We have more than enough food to feed everyone here. So let us continue to work on this problem, be generous here, and thank you. Just thank you. I am so grateful. Thank you for inviting me, Jean. I love it.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you. The pleasure was ours.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And if you want to know more about Winter, it's milesmediation.com is where her mediation practice is housed, right? And then we have all these other connections. And if you do make a donation, if you are so kind as to let Natalie know, she's on the chat here, or you can find her on willworkforfood.news, then we'll add it to our total. And please join us every Thursday, 8 a.m. Pacific time for another fantastic presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Winter.
Thank you.